This episode brought to you by Origins, origination technology for today's credit unions. Studio Lounge interviews brought to you by IMM eSign, Trellens, Pulsate, Pure IT Credit Union Services, Janusea, Mahalo Banking, and QTech. We are here with Janusea's very own Kyle Stutzman. Kyle, welcome to the Studio Lounge. I apologize for my whatever that was.
No, I'm happy to be here. This has been a fun conference.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it has been. And you guys have been busy. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
And walking by there, you got people all around you. You've been speaking, and who knows what else you've been doing.
Yeah,
here.
speaking's over. You know, that's
Good,
kind of like it's fun. It goes well, and then you're like, okay, the rest of the conference is just fun conversations and relationships. There's always that fun energy and nervousness you get from speaking. But
speaking
it's a great room.
Speaking of speaking, let's talk about your speaking presentation. It was entitled "A Beautiful Relationship: Leveraging Fintech Partnerships to Enable Credit Union Growth." So, give us a quick.
Right.
You gotta love that, right?
Yeah, you did. You got to love when marketing gets a hold of your titles for your speech. Right?
Was that not a good title?
It's a great title.
Wonderful title.
But
so give me
to simplify it, we talked about fintech partnerships.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Everything in our industry is focused on all these improvements we can do for our members and how we can engage with them, and yet we have limited resources. So now we had a group that probably self-selected because they're in the topic, but every single one is saying, we know we have to partner with software providers and fintech providers in order to be able to compete, and we hear that in every news article. We're seeing that everywhere. So it was a timely topic, and we talked realistically about it's not the same expectation that you can have of the old days where you're a software provider and you have this mature product and you understand the financial industry in my core, and I'm just going to buy your solution and it's going to work and we're going to move ahead.
Oh, that would be a wonderful world, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, we started out the conversation with, no one said it was easy except for every sales guy that sold they sold you on the new fintech conversation.
That is true, yeah.
Right. And we have these interesting things that happen in our industry. We have some great innovation happening, and even an open core like correlation. We just had a credit union, and this is an example we gave in the session. The executive's like, well, we have an open core. This is going to be an easy integration. The fintech's like, yeah, we have a very simple API. This is going to be an easy integration. And then they hand it to the IT and operations team. They're like, what'd you do to us? What do you mean this is easy? We still have to figure out how all these things are mapped. So we talked through that. We talked through culture differences, which was just a huge, let's be realistic. That we used a great picture of a mature dog with this little kitten around it that's jumping at its neck and jumping around, and that's kind of like the credit unions were a little bit more conservative and risk and mature in our banking understanding and what services, and then you have the fintechs like, let's work together. Come on, we can do this. We can do anything. Everything's easy. Right.
That's a good way. That's a good.
We talked through those.
Good
things.
Illustration.
Yeah.
So what's the solution here? Because it sounds like there's a lot of hurdles to be jumping over here. Did you present any
Yeah, we presented some success stories and solutions, but it's not there's no one golden ticket that makes everything
that's
work.
True. I didn't think
so
of that.
First, it's set the right expectations.
Okay.
Right. Let's realize that we are different cultures. But we're still going to be able to work together, and we can work together. Let's recognize that also means we might have different perspectives. Even this concept of what's a minimal viable product, what are we going to introduce, can be completely biased by, for me, a minimal viable product is just getting this communication work, but for the institution, a minimal viable product actually has to deliver value to the member or the operations. So let's set those clear goals up front of what we're trying to accomplish, make sure they're defined, and then who owns that relationship. So we're really talking through things that are not new, but that trying to change at least our mindset around them, so we don't just assume it's the old model where I'm buying something off the shelf and it's there. Instead, you have a partner. I mean, an actual partner that wants to help you.
Right.
They need your services in the credit union to get access to members and grow. You need their services for innovation. And so it's really a pretty beautiful thing, but you have to learn how to bridge that gap. So we talked to more of the kind of the overall components and the process side, and then we eventually got to, of course, the Janusea stuff we love, which is the integration. What do you do when it actually comes down to an integration? And do you have an integration team internally, which, by the way, no one in the room did. and some even laughed.
Wow.
I asked
really?
the question, like, yeah, do you have a dedicated integration team for when you're working with partners? And I got people who actually laughed. I'm like,
really?
That wasn't meant to be a joke. It was meant to be a serious question.
Yeah.
Just because it just doesn't exist much in our industry. We have good people. There's some that do integrations, but
right.
a dedicated team that actually can understand like the specs of an API, understands their own data sets, that would write one and then maintain that interface going forward. It's not most credit unions. It's only the very large ones.
Gosh, maybe this is my ignorance speaking, but I would think it would be the complete opposite because of all the fintechs out there and all the integrations that are going on constantly. I mean, you hear it more and more and more each day. I would think they would have some sort of dedicated team or individuals that would be geared toward that. So I guess
we were
I'm dead wrong
talking very
here.
specific technical integration teams. So if you take a step all the way back to that expectation standpoint, who is going to be responsible for the integration? How much can the fintech do? Do they really just give you their API, or are they going to walk with you and help you through the mapping and answer questions? Unfortunately, most of them do not know the core system. They don't know your internal system. So they can only do so much. And then internally, we have people wearing a lot of hats and doing a lot of good work.
I can imagine.
And so there's people that do know their data, but they don't have that experience working through the integration. So often, people will try to use other tool sets or use outside consultants. And, that's Janusea's finding some great success in just helping people who are in the middle of an integration and saying, we're getting more exceptions than we're getting success. Yeah. Can we fix this?
Yeah, talk about filling a gap or filling a void. Sounds like Janusea is right there to do just that. Oh my gosh.
Right. So it was integration was a key part of this. Was an educational component. Sure. So when we get to the integrations, we talk through that, and then what does it look like for success? And it moves. So it's making it into the partnerships. Most fintechs are on a roadmap and innovating. And so you get a solution today, but you also get influence on where that roadmap is going, and you get the next things they're doing. So understanding where they're headed is also as important of just knowing what they're doing today. Yeah. We saw it in the speed rounds. Like, we can do, this is what we do. Here's this. We're only showing you this much of what we do. And we're planning to add this, and then we're planning to add this, and then we're planning to add this. So you have to have someone that walks with you as a partner, because it's not just a one-time thing.
Well, and I would think this would be a perfect match for smaller to mid-sized credit unions who may not have the resources to have an integration team, if you will. I think the bigger folks might be more capable in this area, just resources-wise. Yeah. So this would be a nice match for those folks, and then to help them subsequently grow. And using that fintech.
Absolutely,
technology.
For the smaller ones.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how many bigger ones want help too.
Really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, some of them have bought kits, like I bought a framework and I use that to do some integration. But then some of them have had staffing issues. So how many developers and data people can you have on staff? And then if you lose one and you only had two, your whole capacity is cut in half, but your projects haven't cut in half. If you lose two, now all the work I did is all dependent on how well their documentation was and are things continuing to progress. And when you do it yourself, you also have to maintain it yourself. Yeah. So I think there's a power in this sense of doing it as a community and working to create kind of a larger platform where when we do updates, and obviously I'm biased on this, but we do updates, we're doing them for a larger group of credit unions. Okay. So even larger institutions, they also have maybe even more. So a small institution may be working on one or two integrations. Maybe some large institutions, what they did, I think they told us they did 100 in the first half of this year, something around 90 to 100 vendor due diligence because they had new relationships with that many vendors just in the first 6 to 7 months of this year. Wow. So the scale, even at a large institution, can overwhelm a small team that's trying to work on integrations.
All right. So what's the goal here? Obviously, here's the old cliche again. Everybody kind of wins here because obviously the fintechs. This is easier for the fintechs to get into the credit unions. The credit unions obviously benefit from the technology that the fintechs have, but then again, like you said in the very beginning, there's that hurdle right there of integrating that type of thing. So the end goal here is just to make this whole process so much easier, much more accessible. It makes more fintechs accessible to credit unions, right? So
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm envisioning. I don't know. You may have a totally different vision.
No, it's
Kyle,
the right. A couple quick things that I think we try to get to quickly in saying, what is the goal? If you think I want to work with a partner, but I can't because they don't work with my systems, that's a barrier. So we try to remove barriers. Okay. So whether you're on a software provider side and you can only work with 1 or 2 cores or systems, you then talk to a credit union and it's limited. I can only help you, but I can't help the 3 of you.
Yeah.
And on the other side, I have a choice to make on what provider I work with, and I may have to choose you because the other 2 may actually fit my strategy and my member base better. But I can't wait 9 to 18 months to hope that integration gets developed. And so we're really trying to just wipe the table clean from that barrier side and say, at the beginning, you want to work together? Yeah. We'll make that happen. Okay. And we're only successful when we make you successful. Yeah. And that's a fun business model.
I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the thing is, we're trying to define a little bit of a new category. What is it like to have a community integration platform? What's it like to have a universal translator for integration? So that's our goal, is that we actually, once people start talking on the platform, they can choose to talk to each other, and you're not limited by the different cores or systems behind the scenes. Even fintechs talking to each other, or credit unions talking to each other. So there's a lot of future possibilities that we're really excited about. But right now, it's just like, let's level the playing field, and if you want to work with someone, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, it just opens the door for everybody. So good stuff.
Yeah, your differentiator is what you do to add value, not that you have a connection to their system.
Right, yeah.
Like, we've been thinking about this for 15 years the wrong way.
Yeah, nothing's holding them back now. So so that's cool. So like you said, opportunities abound. So anything else to add, sir? No,
this has been great to be out here. We're having conversations with credit unions and fintech. I mean, the speed rounds were great. I mean, there's so many institutions that were sharing what's going on, and I was listening to credit unions at the table. Oh yeah, we work with them, or we looked at them, or I think we use their competitor.
I know. I love listening to those conversations too.
So it's great. We were actually even at lunch, and I was sitting with another fintech partner that we're working with. And all of a sudden he stopped talking because a person 2 seats away had just mentioned his company's name.
Really? So he's kind of listening.
And he's listening in. He didn't do that for very long until he's like, oh, it's so good to hear you talk about the company and how it might have this impact and what it's doing for your size institution. And so those are fun conversations.
That's the beauty of coming to a conference in person. That's the benefit that you get. You kind of get.
And the operations side has been great because we've had some people that say, I hear a bunch of technical babble. Like, what do people actually do? And so that's why we talked about like a universal translator. Like, well, what do we do? Well, if I start diving into all the technical stuff, that's challenging. But if I just say, hey, we make sure you can work with anyone in this room.
Yeah, you put it into English.
Is that easy? Or if whatever language I speak, you're going to know that we get to English and you're fine. Yeah. And then the same thing with other vendors. Well, what do they do? Like, okay, well. So we talk through those things, and the operations group are saying, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. So it's good to see.
I like the combination because you have the technology part, and then you have the operations. The technology it brings about the stuff that allows you to do this stuff, and then the operations actually puts it to work. So you got the strategy and the practical all in one.
All the way back to where we started with the conversation. They are not tech projects when you do fintech partnerships, right? It has to be operations and tech working together.
Exactly.
So it's perfect for this conference.
Good stuff, sir. Right on, man. Always an adventure with you.
I enjoyed the conversation. It's fun.
All right. Anything else to add to wrap up? Any final thoughts to wrap up here, sir?
No, I mean, I hope you get checked out okay. I mean, this whole Caesar Palace issue. So for those of you, I just want to make sure, we're trying to end the interview as quickly because you got to get checked out before they charge you again.
A half hour. We're good.
We've already talked a long time. So
it's all right. All right. And I apologize for the rickety wagon wheel table we have here. So thanks you and my microphone just fell asleep.
We broke it.
That's all right. It's good. All right.
Thanks,
Kyle. As always, thank you very much. Keep up the good work there at Janusea.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Studio Lounge interviews brought to you by IMM eSign, Trellance, Pulsate, Pure IT Credit Union Services, Janusea, Mahalo Banking, and QTech. This episode brought to you by Origins, origination technology for today's credit unions.